We are human, we are animals, we crave the ability to be we. I know it's called me undies. We undies might have sounded differently, right?
Is it a disco now?
Yeah, it's the after party, so it's now we go with the flash.
My goal in life is to be a laptop sticker.
Me too.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.
It's a great honor, Mr. Jaffe. It's always nice to be with you.
I'm so happy to be with you. I'm honored.
Thanks for doing this, too. It's a real service to the community.
Thank you for doing this, Joseph, for doing Corona TV in general. And it's your gift to the universe, and it's appreciated.
Very human, and I like that.
Look at you! You are insane!
How did I do that?
You're insane!
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Corona TV. Before I forget, I'm not going to forget this time. I teed this up yesterday. I teed this up the day before. And you know what? I'm just going to go straight into it as well. By the way, for those of you that are new to the show, I'm Joseph Jaffe. I'm your host. But I want to focus on one of my beautiful, fantastic community members, viewers, Mr. Seth Sparks, because he went and put this onto Instagram, and I meant to actually share it, and I kept on forgetting, but I'm going to go do it now. So Seth, take it away.
So I just finished watching today's Corona TV, hosted by Joseph Jaffe, and today's show was about branding and how so many companies get it wrong by not internalizing what they actually supposedly stand for. And as we had more and more discussion about it, philosopher Tom Morris brought up the word of harmony, having harmony between the board and the C-suite, or having harmony between the mission and your purpose and your actual staff or your employees or your team. The reason that I love that is because I love the word harmony. Because when harmony happens, something really special actually goes along with it. There's something called sympathetic resonance, which is basically when two bodies are similar, they have a harmonic resonance between them. So the common example is when you have one tuning fork and another tuning fork that are very similar, and you strike one and it vibrates and makes your noise, one that's like it will start to make that noise too, and they will have a harmony together. As that applies to CEOs and boards or missions and staffs, you start to see that sympathetic resonance across different bodies, in essence making that thing you believe in or that goal that you're striving toward reach more people just by virtue of it existing, and striking that tone will make it reach and feather out even further than it would have if you were doing it dishonestly or unnaturally. So super cool to think about that kind of metaphor playing out in the business world, and I thought I'd share. Hope you're having a good day.
I'm having a great day, Seth. Thank you for that. Really interesting points from him about this idea of harmony. It's a new thought on Corona TV, this idea of what happens when, you know, it's almost the opposite of this idea of preaching to the choir. This is what happens actually when people are, in fact, preaching the same and maybe good vibes, hope, positivity, and optimism. So, Seth, thank you for sharing that. The funny thing is he actually put onto Instagram, he didn't tag me, but Tom Morris actually then commented on it on Facebook and tagged me. And so now it has actually birthed a new idea on Corona TV, which is if you have a video question or a response to anything that you've seen or heard on Corona TV, put it out on Instagram. You can even put it into a story and tag Jaffe Juice TV. I will find it and I will bring it onto the show. What a great new way to bring you guys onto the show. So thank you, Seth. If not for you, I wouldn't have this new idea. Joey says, you go, Seth. And Seth, yeah, that was awesome. So I'm really, really happy to be trying something new. Look at the joy it gives me. Well, one other thing that I just wanted to mention, of course, thank you, Adam. I thought it was a good idea as well, and welcome to the show. I think you're new to the show, which is pretty awesome. Just a reminder for those of you that that are going to South by Southwest that want to support my panel. I just went and put that into the comments as well. It is called How I Reinvented Myself During a Global Pandemic. And the idea is to share with the South by Southwest audience next year the entire story of Corona TV, all the secrets, all the missteps, all the shortcomings, all the surprises, all the joy, and encourage you guys to do it as well, because the whole point is how I reinvented myself during a global pandemic, and you can too, and I'm going to show you how. Today is National Chicken Soup of the Soul Day. I hope Corona TV is your chicken soup of the soul that makes you feel good, that brings a smile to your face, that gives you that little boost sometimes when you need it most. I know chicken soup does that for me. Another person that does that for me is Kevin Ryan. He's the CEO of Motivity. It's a hard one. CEO of Motivity Marketing Inc. I'm not going to say that again. He's a thought leader. He's an author. He's a writer. He's smart. He's snarky. He's basically me. It's like staring into a mirror. And he's going to be my guest on the show, and I cannot wait. Happy birthday to my Facebook friends, Chris Locke, Dave Weinberg, Paul Mabry, and then on LinkedIn as well, Timu, Durga, Al, Alexander, and Sashin. Hope you guys are having a good day. Well, let's get into the seated soliloquy. And for those of you that are old enough to remember Mad Magazine, the What Me Worry, Alfred E. Newman, What Me Worry, that's what prompted me to create a seated soliloquy that is inspired by him. So yesterday on Corona TV, let's just call it what it is. It was a bit of a bust. Technical issues in the form of connectivity made it very hard for me to see and hear my guest. I tried my best to make sense of the conversation, to fill in all the missing words, but it really proved to be very taxing. As the saying goes, the show must go on. And so I kept going. But I could feel the strain, the anxiety. I could feel the little voice in my head saying, how do I fix this? Can I fix this? My true north in this whole journey, in this project, is my audience, you guys, and in particular the regulars. What were they thinking? Was this like pulling teeth for them? Were they tiptoeing to the exit, hoping I wouldn't notice? So I asked them live, on air, streaming, if they were experiencing the same challenges I was faced with. They were, but they put on a brave face and reassured me that they were managing barely to follow the train of thought. I hoped it would get better, but alas, it did not. So I pulled the plug on the episode, and I'm happy to share that Nate will be coming back on December 14th. I do look forward to hearing him spill the beans and share all his trade secrets on how to hit it big on YouTube. I know I'm trying to do that as well. So what did I take away from yesterday? Number one, it's okay to have a bad show. Sometimes it's going to be your fault, and other times it's going to be something completely out of your control. If you don't have a bad show occasionally, well, how will you ever be able to recognize what a good show is? How will you ever be able to benchmark good from great? Number two, more importantly, how will you learn? How will you improve if you don't come down to earth sometimes, if you don't have a bad day? And finally, most importantly, forgive yourself. It happens. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies. So don't be so hard on yourself when something like this happens. We're all human. We make mistakes. Relax. It'll pass. It'll all be okay. It always, always does. So I just want to leave you with a line that annoys my kids to no end when I use it on them. So why not use it on you as well, right? This is the quote. If you aren't going to worry about it in 5 years' time, don't spend more than the next 5 minutes worrying about it now. Worry about what? Exactly. I'm not even thinking about what happened yesterday, to be honest. I'm just hoping that I have a good show today. And how can I not have a good show when my guest is the Kevin Ryan? And I say the Kevin Ryan. Kevin is known throughout the world as an interactive marketing thought leader, particularly in the area of search marketing. But he is not a one-trick pony. His current and former client book of business reads like a who's who of big brands: Rolex, State Farm Insurance, Farmers Insurance, Sony, Samsung, Toyota, Lexus, Panasonic, Aramark, and the Hilton hotel brands, to name a few. His signature blend of thought leadership has led to hundreds of articles on search and interactive marketing being published by the likes of Advertising Age, Media Post, and Ad Exchanger. He also hosts his own podcast. I was looking at a TMI KMR, which then I realized was TMI, as in too much information, and KMR, which are his initials. And I'm happy to say, well, maybe not after this episode, but the plan is for me to be on his show. So maybe he can still rescind the invitation. You never know. Well, let's ask him. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ryan.
Thanks, man. This is great. I was thinking about this before, and I'm on the Joe Jaffe's show. So, and that's a thing, because you're the pioneer who teed it up for the pioneers to pioneer. So this is a big honor for me. Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, I'm excited to be on your show, and it's next month, right? It's December.
Yes, and I plan to torture you. I'm working on some stuff. I'm going to surprise you.
Well, guess what? You will be tortured today. Oh yes, you will be tortured today. So are you ready for the torturing to begin?
By all means, Moneypenny.
Okay, so first of all, we begin with this, right? Which is what the hell was going on in this photo, first and foremost?
So where did you find this?
So I found this great new tool. It's called Googly. Is that how you pronounce it? Googly.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I use this thing called search, and I typed your name.
I don't know anything about search. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure you actually do, because after I did this, first of all, let me tell you what happened. I went and really typed your name, and this is what I got. And I thought to myself, wait a second, what's going on here? The king of search is not on the front page of Google. Yeah. Something is afoot. Something is amiss. Maybe he doesn't want to be found. So what's going on here? Who is this imposter, Kevin Ryan, that keeps on popping up?
So so you're going to get a lot of, and I wouldn't say I'm unhinged. I would say unleashed today, because unhinged is you just go crazy. Unleashed is you're just going to do what you would have done, right? So that Kevin Ryan, I actually know him well, and we're in touch over the years. Ran DoubleClick, right? He was the first. Yep. By the way, I think I have more Twitter followers than he does. But I'm certainly taller and better looking.
And by the way, his last tweet, which was March 24th, 2014, says, "We got to Turkey a few days ago. They just banned Twitter. Sending this to protest. Hope it goes through." Well, Kevin, I have great news for you. The tweet went through.
Yeah. And he is the verified, the blue check mark Kevin Ryan too. Something that I just never got around to doing. So Kevin Ryan is a very, very common name. And when I started making a name for myself in the business and started writing, I would always have to get up in front of an audience and say, no, I'm the other Kevin Ryan, right? I'm in search. Boy, isn't that sexy? So I had to draw a line from him to me, and have for a long time. And I'll tell you something I've never told anybody. DoubleClick's a big company, acquired a lot of companies. And we knew a lot of the same people. So DoubleClick acquired this company, and the draft of the press release that included a whole bunch of stuff that was not like margins and what they paid, and was accidentally sent to me. So I had all of this magnificent confidential information. I knew exactly what they paid for this company.
Oh, wow.
I knew exactly what the margin was. I knew exactly what all of the executives were compensated. Why you would put that in a draft of a press release baffles me.
And then you said, please send all future remuneration payments, dividends to, and provided you're a Bank of America number, right?
If only I were that smart. I thought it would be hysterical to send their PR person, because at that time I had just started writing for iMedia. You were writing for iMedia. And I just sent them a note back saying, hey, yeah, thanks. I just cut and pasted this whole thing and uploaded it it'll be on the front page of iMedia tomorrow. And just my phone started ringing. He did not think it was funny. I'm like, dude, I would never do that. And I'm, obviously I never published it because you probably know me by a different name. But yeah, there's been some confusion. That's actually how he and I first met in person.
That's actually, and of course I know, Kevin Ryan from DoubleClick days as well. Tom Morris says Kevin shows us the internet version of witness protection. So I knew there was a reason. I knew that everything you do is deliberate, including that photo of you. And so when I posted that photo and the description of what we talk about, you came up with this comment which out of context spoke about you as a showboat and maybe a bit of a prick. And I was like, wait a second, why is he saying that about himself? I don't view him as either of them. I view him as both of them. So, but then you cleared it up, didn't you?
Yeah, that's Steve Zissou from The Life of Aquatic, or A Life Aquatic, whatever it is. I absolutely love that movie. Yeah, a little bit of a showboat, a little bit of a prick, but that's me. I said those things. I did those things. I have to own it.
Well, you definitely aren't either of them, and I'm sure people will see your intellect and your thinking and your thought leadership, and really leadership in thought that will come out today. But before we get there, we still have to embarrass you just a little bit more, and there are really 3 fun facts. I mean, 2 of them are fun facts, and then there's one that's maybe a little something that I'd rather not joke about, but actually have a conversation with you about. Well, let's begin with the ridiculous stuff, of course, which is that you had a mullet and you were proud of it, and you decided to share that. And I guess my fun fact is I'm terrible at Photoshop, which is part of the point. But tell us about your mullet.
It was that time. It was that place. It was I think high school. I wanted to grow hair long, and I actually got fired from my job in a supermarket for having hair below my collar. Really into heavy metal, really into all the music of the time was the headbanging stuff, and if you didn't have long hair and smoke cigarettes, well, you just weren't dirty enough. I don't know. And it was that time. It was that place.
Perfect. I think perfect segue into, if you weren't smoking cigarettes, you might have been smoking something else, which is, I didn't know this about you, that you grew pot when you lived in California and you inhaled. Yeah.
Well, I mean, why not? Right. I mean, you can, so why not? And I had a lot of fun with it. When I lived in Huntington Beach, the law was, and I was 100% compliant with the law. The law was you could have 8 immature plants or 4 mature plants. So I had 4 mature plants, and I would, put them out in a little box outside. You live in Southern California, the temperature is just fine. And from there, you're just managing the light cycle, right? So you put it out in April. By June, July, you have a plant that you can harvest.
I feel like I'm an immature plant, basically.
I'm always going to be an immature plant.
So the third thing that you shared, and I really didn't know this about you, and what I've really loved about Corona TV is it's been an opportunity for me to really get to know people that I've known, from afar, but never taken the time both ways to get to know them. And the thing that you shared is that you have OCD, and bad is what you wrote. Tell me a little bit about that. And I've known about OCD. You know about what you read, about what you see. But I've realized I've never really taken the time to ask someone what that is, what it feels like, what it means to them. So if you wouldn't mind, I would love you to share whatever you're comfortable sharing about your OCD.
Sure. Yeah. It's a thing that
I'm gonna drop down a little bit so that I can be at your level. By the way,
am I not saying? This is the camera thing, right? If you really want to get into OCD,
all right, then.
What is it
I
like?
Want to aggravate your OCD.
It's not, it's different for everybody, and it's not Adrian Monk, right? It's not that, right? I don't have to touch the doorknob 50 times before I leave. But the easiest way to explain it is, if the desk is a mess and the kitchen is on fire, there's a decision, right? For most people, there is no decision. Go put out the fire in the kitchen. If it's unchecked, you'll organize the desk and then go put out the fire. If you are actively working with it and getting it in check and in control, then you're able to step back from the messy desk to go do the other thing, right? And that's in a very extreme example that is obviously, that doesn't happen, but it's things like that where it will get in the way of your life, is when the desk is messy and you have 3 calls that you have to do, because you will not want to do that call unless your desk is absolutely organized. So it's a thing. It's a tough thing that you, on any given day, you have a lot to deal with. On any given day, everyone has a lot to deal with. But in the world that I'm living in, God, I can't believe you get me to talk about this stuff. In the world that I'm living in, that's the constant process, right? You'll notice that my car is immaculate. There's absolutely no dust or dirt anywhere in it. And I always have, a go bag packed, and every possible thing that you could need for a road emergency is in my car at all times. There's emergency food, emergency blankets, road flares, batteries, no extra gasoline, because that would be a problem. But yeah, that's how it manifests itself for me. That's how it, and you just gotta you recognize that it's there, that it's probably always going to be there. There are medications that people take to be able to do that, and to be able to manage it better. And people ask, well, what medication would you take, and what does the medication do? And it's hard to tell. One, I'm not a doctor, and 2, it is different for everybody. But in what the medication would allow you to do over a long period of time is actually step away, be able to look at a messy desk and go, you know what? I'm just going to do my call. I don't have to clean that up right now. I don't have to do this one thing before this other thing happens. Or I don't have to do this one thing in order for the other thing to happen. So, yeah, I mean, it's, nobody's ever asked me about it, but that's what it is.
Well, the reason I brought it up, well, obviously, as one of the things that you shared, was because I don't know that people talk about it enough, and I don't know that people can understand. And it's part of it is me understanding you and your world, and the funny thing is, I never had any idea that this was even a part of your life before. But I always, even now, I still don't make the connection. I just know of you as a personality that is vivacious, that is, energetic. You're about as quirky as I am, which is quirky. But it doesn't come into it. And it's almost like something that I think is almost hidden from the world. And it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't need to be. So I really do appreciate you sharing that. There is a bit of a humorous side to it, which is Jan asked, does the heavy bag help manage or pump up your OCD? To which Tom responded, Dude, I think that's his microphone.
That's the microphone.
So if you were thinking of getting any advice, Jen, this is the wrong show for you. No, but I do appreciate you sharing that with us. And
it's a tough thing. People joke around about it so much, and you don't want to be the guy that goes, "Hey, that's not funny," because I'm the guy who thinks everything is funny, right? I mean, it's not something that you're super proud of when you want to, when you want to start talking about it. And then the second you do start talking about it, suddenly you're the victim. And I think everybody on earth is racing to be a victim right now. So sorry.
Which is actually a very, very good segue into talking about winners, losers, victims, victors, and something that's been on my mind, and I feel almost that I've been trapped in it as well. But before I do it, Tom says my wife would love Kevin. I've got to keep this quiet. Well, oops! now it's on Corona TV, so there you go. So here we are, and you are SEO, I'm PPC, according to the backdrop, and never the two shall meet. There are liberals and conservatives. There's Republicans and Democrats. The chasm, the rift, is almost insurmountable. And one of the things that you indicated that you wanted to chat to me about, which was very intriguing to me, was this idea of the conversation or the lack thereof. And you asked a very simple question, which is, how do we converse? How do we connect with 70 to 75 million people, depending on what side of the aisle you sit, who think differently than we do? So what have you been thinking about that topic? And if I'll let you kick it off and then I'll jump in.
Boy, there's a lot to work with there. The cancel culture thing is interesting to me, and I think it's thrown around a lot. And I do a fair amount of work with what we would traditionally refer to as reputation management, and really what it is just taking the disciplines of SEO and social and subject matter analysis and pulling all of these things together to figure out what's really happening and where the deltas are in what people are saying versus what people are doing. And those are some pretty really, when you really get into it, are really interesting things. So I've really struggled with it. I actually worked on the election this year. I think the best way that we can start to change things in our world, particularly in the U.S., is to work locally. And very much behind the scenes and that sort of thing, doing strategy and comms. And it's what struck me, and I won't tell you which party. What struck me is that if you wanted to be an independent, if you wanted to be, let's say, I don't want to run with the Republican Party, or I don't want to run as a Democrat, the obstacles that are in place to do that, to keep you from doing that, are, even at the local level, unbelievable. And there are so many misconceptions about it, but it's just unreal how impossible they make it for you to be an independent. So you have to choose one. So I've been helping the underdogs. and it's just amazing to me how polarizing the conversation is, right? Because all of this stuff in doing crisis work and doing comms and things like that started a few years ago when I did a favor for a producer I know in LA. And he had been accused of some stuff that turned out to be complete nonsense. But the story that the number one result, right? The phrase I got credit for coining, God forgives, but Google never forgets, of him doing this, of being accused, was always number one, right? So I had to get really creative and figure out how to disappear that. And I did. And that opened the door to a lot of different types of work that were in the same vein. People accused of something. There was a bad thing that happened in this company or that company. And what I started to see, and this can definitely take you to a bad place, because what I started to see was a lot of people signing up for, I'm going to destroy you at all costs. And I have seen so many ways of people setting out to do that, and setting out to do that as a group. And it's just amazingly awful how it happens. And the contradictions would surprise you. When it comes down to who's judging and who isn't, it's really astonishing. So I've been writing a little bit about this. I've been trying to figure out how to get get people together, because it's way too easy to just say, this is the only way you should be thinking. And why aren't you this person? Why aren't you thinking this way? Because that's the only right way to think. And now, because of we're all in these bubbles, it's being reinforced nonstop, right? We've seen the social dilemma, right? The social dilemma, to me, by the way, and I don't want to take it into the sidebar, is hysterical, because what I was expecting from that social dilemma documentary was exactly what I got, which is, oh my God, I created this thing and it's awful, and now I have to fix it. And they went through a list of people, right? Yes, I built and you and I know some of these people. I built the monetization engine at Facebook. Yes, I'm responsible for the like button. And then they cut to, well, whose fault is it? Whoa. It's nobody's fault. Not one person.
And by the way, remember the end credits. That's the only part of that's the part of the social dilemma that is like the ton of bricks just falling on you, where they say, oh, we don't let our children use a mobile phone. We don't let our kids use social media. I'm like, what? Yeah. And then you see, it's egregious hypocrisy bordering on something that is almost a crime against humanity, which is your kids should have to be forced to play Candy Crush, and troll people on Facebook 24 hours a day, damn it.
Yeah, I have 4, 8, and 12-year-olds, and it's the reality is you see these things happening, and it's not just about turning off the notifications on your phone. There's a lot more to it than that. It's people
that was
are
good,
people, what's that? Turning off the notifications?
No, that's a good hack. And then Moshe Engelberg, who was on the show the week of the election, he spoke about the concept of drawing on the Jewish Sabbath, which is he tells his boys at college to take a Sabbath, even if it's Tuesday from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., which is no phones, no technology, detox, connect, etc. But by the way, so just a few comments. Tom says, I'll do that so we can see your face. Tom said he canceled CVS, due to the length of their receipts. But let me tell you, Tom, I'm going to cancel you, buddy, because CVS, they're doing some very cool things with respect to not selling tobacco.
Yeah.
Now every image in advertising indicates whether it is au naturel or has been retouched. But they could probably work on their receipts. I think I'm with Hespos. You know what? I'm going to cancel CVS. I'm going to walk in, damn it.
It's a funny thing. So it's a funny thing, and this is probably what sends me. And I have to be very careful because I can go down the rabbit hole. And this is one of the things that, when you're OCD, you're hyper focused on this one thing, right? So if somebody gives me a problem to solve, I will want to do nothing else but solve that problem. And one of the clients that came, and I have to be very careful about what I say here, but she was canceled, right? She was accused of doing something. I dug into the analytics. I had people working on forensic analysis on, the proof. And it turned out to be just completely false. She had to leave her home.
Wow.
She was fired from her job. 500,000 people or more watched the video of her that was completely doctored and painted her in a very negative light. She lost her home. She lost her job. She'll never work again. It's so destructive. And not one person said, hey, wait a minute. That's not wait, that doesn't sound right. Why is the audio clippy? Why does this look like this negative thing look like a Spike Lee joint? You know, there's a lot of production value that went into this, and this doesn't look right. And
I'm not sure. I mean, my take from this, and I think it's correct, but I stand corrected, is that so two things have happened, you know, and we have obviously two sides, right? We have the red and the blue side. Cancel culture behavior, flash mob style, seems to almost be exclusively focused on the blue side. But then at the same time, it appears the red side, I'm not going to tell you which sides they are, I'm just going to give colors to them. The red side seems to have almost attempted to point fingers and brand, you know, and ostracize the other side based on cancel culture, instead of maybe trying to understand the reasons behind the motivation, maybe even minimizing sometimes the acts that necessitated the behavior in the first place. I'm talking kind of broad strokes, but I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of someone. I mean, the reality is, and we've all lived through it, it's exactly what I just said in the soliloquy. We're human beings. We make mistakes. Sometimes we make really bad mistakes. But isn't America the story of the comeback? Isn't America the story of being able to get a second chance? If there is the, you know, if there is the ability to recognize and be humbled by actions or even by other people's actions and come back stronger, isn't that what makes America great? Really great, though?
yeah. I mean, everybody. You know, one of the things that, and I could tell you, I could go all day with stories like this, but when you really start to dig into, and this is the background in search, right? When you're working in search, you see the rawest aspects of everyone's brain in the search box. And some people will remember a few years ago, you go to the Google headquarters and there would be these screens, you know, like my little fake aquarium behind me. And it would just have what everybody was searching for at that moment. So when you look into that abyss and you see what really is on people's minds, it can get really, really bad. But no one is beyond, I guess, no one is beyond the comeback. Nobody is beyond redemption. I guess that's the word that I was looking for. And the minute we get to the point where we have a mob that decides whether or not you're allowed redemption. I mean, I'm not talking about like the Harvey Weinsteins of the world. Okay, those, you know, those guys are monsters, and there's a place for them. I'm talking about, you know, I had a bad day and I said something dumb, and somebody got it on video. And if you don't understand how the human brain works, then you understand that when you're stressed and something awful is happening to you, you do dumb shit. And nobody is beyond having a look at that the next day and saying, oh God, that's not me. That's the worst parts of humanity right there. My amygdala was making some really bad decisions for me, or I was allowing my amygdala to make bad decisions for me.
It's interesting. Jason says we've eliminated the opportunity for redemption, and you know, he may not be wrong, but that's a pretty, you know, that would be a very dark day if that were true. So and if it is true, how do we change that? How do we save? How do we bring back? How do we redeem redemption?
So if you want to read something really good, Jason did a write-up about Social Dilemma, and he posted it on his Facebook page. And it was a really good write-up. So when I, you know, went up and did, you know, when I posted what I was going to post about it, I said, read his first. But he's got a really good, a really good way of thinking. If you haven't had him on, you should at some point.
I have had him, and he, and I'm having him again as well, because one of the things that I haven't
Can't get enough Burnham. Can't.
No, it's not just Burnham, man. It's Dumont, it's Burnham, it's who I do need to have on the show is Hespos, because he says that his kids can beat your kids at Fortnite. So
Dude.
he's laying it down, and it's another person with Burnham in their name. Michelle, who said thanks for shining your light and wisdom, Kevin. So there are a lot of people, but let's go back to this idea, right? Because I thought it was look, Laredo is also jumping on the Burnham bandwagon. Hey, listen, do me a favor, leave Burnham alone. Today we're talking about KMR. It's my show, damn it, and this is my gift. But let's talk about that for a second, right? You spoke about this idea, which I thought was very eloquent, as you are, my friend. The simultaneous humanization of corporations and dehumanization of people in the social sphere. I mean, I think it's quite brilliant, that statement, because everybody's talking about how to become more human and demonstrate humanity through these faceless, inanimate objects called corporations, most of which that suck. But then there's something else going on, which is the dehumanization and I suppose vilification, right, of people in the world through social media. So what's going on here?
So that's the thing, right? So the social interaction is all about the dopamine injection, the pleasure response, right? And anybody that has ever looked at anything about addiction, it's a thing. It's a real thing, and nobody wants to feel bad when they come to a social interaction. So you now have the ability to completely eliminate anything that makes you feel bad, or people that you don't like or have differing opinions of you. You can just eliminate them. You can silence them. And not only that, the algo bubble, copyright Kevin Ryan 2020, algo bubble enables that further by looking at that information and saying, well, I'm only going to give you this, right? Kevin Ryan is a truck driving Republican racist. I mean, just go right down the line. If you're going to just, you're all of these things. And if I get somebody posting something about Kamala, by the way, that is how you say her name. That's the appropriate Kamala, right? If you were in India, you would say Kamala. Anyway, long story there. If I see something like that pop into my feed, I can just eliminate that person and I'll never see anything like that. I mean, that's fine. Everybody knows that that's what you can do. But what you can also do, what's happening as you do that, is that the social network is taking that information and saying, well, I don't want to give him any more of this stuff because he's not going to come back here, because I'm not going to serve him more ads, or I'm not going to be able to feed him more content. So let me feed him more racist, obnoxious stuff, because that's going to keep him coming here. And the other thing that does for me as a racist, white supremacist, whatever, is it reinforces it. And now you're only getting that stuff. And your entire pleasure response is tied to logging in and seeing this crap, right? And that's awful, because it doesn't allow you to see the other side, right? And we spend all of, and this is the term you used was the best, the epitome of hypocrisy. And I could tell you so many stories about things that are just hypocritical that are happening now. But that's what happens. Now you're not getting access to anybody else, because anything that doesn't make you feel good is not going to be appearing anywhere in your feed. And that's what landed us in a situation where half the people in the country supported one guy and half the people in the country supported the other guy. And depending on your perspective, you're a complete lunatic if you don't buy into what the one guy said. And that's reinforced by, it's like putting, a whole bunch of stupid people in the room and just feeding them more stupid stuff.
I actually reached out to one guy that I feel has been either explicitly or implicitly trolling me or just trolling in general. And I said, do you want to come on Corona TV and we can have a real conversation? And his response was, how many views do you have? Is this worth it for me? And I was like, you know what? I'm trying, but I don't think he actually wants to have a conversation. So I put this together. I created a post and I almost created my ground rules for Facebook. And I'm trying to follow them, but I've been sucking at following them. But anyway, so the first one was my feed is my home. And you know, if you're a friend, then you clearly are invited to my home. You can come into my home. That doesn't mean you can walk into my home at 4 a.m, and it definitely doesn't mean you can disrespect my home. And then I said, if you disrespect me, I will ignore, delete, or smother you with love. And it's hard to follow that. Number 2 was your feed is your home, and unless I'm invited, I'll kind of keep quiet. And so what I meant by that was, if you don't mention my name and tag me, then you're not really talking to me. And this is where it gets hard, because this is what happens when people are asking these questions that are just baiting you into the conversation. You know, is it a witch hunt or isn't it a witch hunt? You know, has there been widespread fraud or hasn't there? And then the third one is, you know, don't hate the player, hate the game, which is, I said, I won't attack a person directly. And I actually have been really good on this one, but I did caveat it, which is except Trump and his cronies, that I would be allowed to be angry and get it out my system for me personally until such time that I felt, you know, I could start again. And for me, by the way, that goal, that moment would be a concession or some kind of peaceful transfer of power. Now, I'll add one more little caveat or exhibit and then let you respond. So I wrote this post. Now, okay. So why did I write this post? Because someone had written a post saying, is Biden the president-elect or not? You know, and every time someone said he is, then this person would then go, why do you say that? Do you know, you're wrong. And so what did I do? I wrote this one that said, isn't he so presidential? And I'm just going to call him Biden. And it just rolls up the tongue. And he's, you know, what a stud. I love him, blah, blah, blah. And eventually, like, it got into this whole, like, shit show. You can see, 70 responses, 39 comments, until Jesse Thomas came around and he said, hey, Joe, why are you using your space in the world to bully people? Can we stop with the nasty political posts? You're turning into a left-wing Trump supporter. By the way, look at the comment immediately below me, which is someone just goading and everything.
That might be a Russian troll bot. Hang on.
It's 1,000%, because I don't know who this person is. But by the way, and my feed is public. But eventually, the end to the story is that I wrote a post that said, "Hey Jesse, thanks for keeping me in check. We will now return to our regularly scheduled programming of hope, positivity, and optimism. Sometimes it's important to get all the yuckiness out our system, like a colonic. I'm good now." And that's how I basically went through this soul searching to try and just find myself again and find a place of civility. But it's hard.
Well, we have to. So it always follows the money, right? And you have to create a means for people. You have to make a revenue positive means of doing this. People don't do things. Sometimes they do. But as a general rule, people don't do things unless there's a financial net positive. So the solution has to have that more than anything else. And I'll use the example of when I was helping this guy get uncanceled. I went to one of the publishers and I said, "Do you need to change basically they're not to call SEO geeky, but there are these tags that appear on the website in an article, in a news article. It will say this, this, and this, and it was this person accused." And then I said, I went to the publisher. I said, "Can you change it to what he was exonerated? So can you just change this one particular listing?" Now, well, why should we do that? Well, you should do it because it's the right thing, because this guy's life was ruined. And And then they laughed at me. and then I came back with I developed a financial reason for them to do this and how it would benefit them if they changed this structure. Yes, the side benefit was this guy was now able to live his life again. But the publisher also figured out a way to make money with it. And I think that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
And it's really hysterical to me. I see all these people and working in the election, definitely, or working on the local election. It's funny that so the people on the left 100% think that everybody that disagrees with them is a Russian troll bot. and the people on the right 100% believe that everybody that disagrees with them is a lefty lunatic. And that world needs to come back together.
It's a vicious cycle. And, going back to the example I showed for a moment, you can see that my response to Jesse, which was all about love, has got, 9 reactions versus the 70 of my, pissed off kind of goading. And it just shows you this is the world. This is the social dilemma, right? In practice, which is what is more sticky, what gets more engagement and conversation. It's the bad stuff. It's the negative stuff. But we can change that. We have to change that. We just have to, right?
Well, you can. There's a couple of quick fixes. I said I sent this out. Of course, and this is very true, and you see this all the time too, right? The hate stuff gets 1 million clicks, and then or you put up a picture of a puppy, and there's 7,000 views, and everybody's commenting on it, and you write a thought piece on how to change the world, and fucking crickets. That's just the way things are. That's just really. I can't fix that, but I would like to. It goes back to how do we fix it? All right, here's a quick way to do it. Go to everybody that you blocked in the last year and unblock them, and then go like a whole bunch of stuff you can't stand.
Great, so I love it.
If you're on the extreme left, or even in the middle left, I don't even know if there's a middle left. You block, you go and unblock the guy who voted for Trump, and then go out and like a few of his posts. Your world's gonna get diverse very quickly. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's simple. It's simple. It's powerful, and that's how we mend. I put the comment on a little bit earlier. Michelle was basically saying, how do we take this message of truth and play it through a massive megaphone? And look, I would hope that Corona TV, a message about hope, positivity and optimism, but with practical advice and guides, like even this comment. And what the answer is, Michelle, as I'm thinking, it's truth. It's speaking the truth, being honest. That's what I mean when I say speaking the truth. It's being honest. That's what helps, and sometimes, it goes back to you, Kevin, like telling us about your struggle or just OCD. It endears me to you if I wasn't already, which I was. But that's how we humanize society again, by actually showing everyone that we're humans. It's really not that complicated.
I wrote a short speech for Obama right after the election, and he didn't use it. Do you want me to? I can read it to you if you want.
Yeah, please.
Sure. And I can't do the Obama voice, but I'll just do it in my voice. So people, we won. Now we need to drop the superior attitudes and just take the win. Take the win, step away from the keyboard war, and get out and do something. Gloating isn't doing. Neither is shouting your way through the streets of the suburbs, but baby steps. You're making us all look like smug assholes with this shit. Seriously, you guys. We'll also have to stop pretending that our side is saintly and corruption-free, while the other side is nothing but chumps and racists. It's half the country. Suck it up and figure out how to work with them. They are your neighbors, not demons from far off pick-up-a-truckatopia. Here's a freebie for you. The big guy got paid and I forgot to stand. Get over it. Because if we don't, we're just manufacturing another, whatever the last 4 years was for America. I guarantee it. Don't be stupid. And there's a finite period. You can blame the world's problems on the last guy. I know you're thinking of milking it like crazy. Cut that shit right out. This means you too, Maddow. And Tucker, go fuck yourself, buddy. The protesting worked, our people are in, and thus the pandemic is officially over as planned. Time to get busy, the querulous lot of you. Let's prove to those racist chumps we can do more than type. I mean, I thought that was a great motivator, but
I really struggled to get beyond what I thought was, it was almost like poetry, like a Nobel laureate. Tucker, go fuck yourself. That is.
I can see Obama. I can see President Obama saying, telling Tucker, maybe after a cocktail, like, Maddow, you're crazy, and Tucker, go fuck yourself. I think he could do that.
I love it, but again, look, what's really happening? It's humanity, right? It's what happens when you actually see human beings acting like human beings, and that's what we need. We need truth, we need honesty, we need, again, it goes back to the soliloquy, which is being able to say, hey, I had a bad show, I made a mistake, or something happened and I couldn't control it, and so. Just being able to end yesterday's show early, saying this is not working right now, but it's okay. I'll come back tomorrow. And a part of me, there was anxiety, worrying that maybe there'd be a bad connection today, but there wasn't. And life goes on, and all the worrying that took place is unnecessary. So.
And you make the best points of the world, which is go on, right? And the reason that, and I'm sure this is true of a lot of people, and. The point is, my truth doesn't have to be your truth. Right? We can each have our own truth, and you have to respect the other person's truth. But humanizing to the extent, I don't talk about the OCD a lot because I don't want to be identified as that, or I don't want to be that victim or whatever it is, because you're ashamed of it. Right? Because you're ashamed that you're not a normal person, or what's considered to be a normal person. And so you don't want to be identified as that. And while it adds a level of humility or humanity, you're ashamed of it. I'm ashamed of it. I know I am. I think about it every day, and it's an uphill struggle.
Well, let me tell you, and you don't need me to tell you that the following two things. One is, you might be the most normal of all of us, and number two, there are so many people out there that hear your story, and you touch their lives, and there are people that suffer in silence, and there are people that don't understand. And whether we're talking about OCD or we're just talking about reconciliation and communication, and Ted Rubin, who's a good friend of the show, he was very honest in one of our community shows. He said, I don't know that I can do business with the other side again. I don't know how I'm going to be able to look at them in the face and talk to them and respect them and work with them again. But if you don't get it out your system, then it festers. It is a cancer that rots us from the inside out. And so, if ever you need someone to be in your corner and say, you go girl, I'm that guy. And I want you to know that you're inspiring change today. We're inspiring change. You've got Angus, who comes here and he says, who's a previous guest on the show. He said, everyone seems to be in elevated emotional states, many lacking self-awareness to see that they're projecting or confirming bias. It's difficult for people to be objective when opposition is dehumanized instead of understood. And just to show you that there is hope, Amy Rika turned around and said, shut up, Angus. Followed by kidding. So,
we need to humanize people. You scumbag!
Yeah.
Now I know where that went. Yeah,
but you know what? Sense of humor is another thing as well. So it's important. All right. So we're gonna in a few minutes move on over to the Zoom after show. If you want to just continue this incredible conversation, and by incredible conversation, I'm referring to everything Kevin is saying, you can come and join us. All you got to do is go to bit.ly/CoronaTV after show. I am going to be on his show in December, and I will share the link in advance if you want to see what happens when the embarrassment shifts and the tables turn. Kevin,
it's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, there will be pain. Oh yes, there will be pain. Kevin is the CEO of Motivity Marketing Inc., and I'm not going to let you go before we plug a few things and show people all the depth and the breadth of your thinking. But here is your quote of the day that you have to that has been assigned to this conversation. If you do not expect the unexpected, you will not find it, for it is not to be reached by search or trail.
Oh.
I love this because in a way it played on search. It wasn't referring to search engine marketing or Google, but it was referring to this idea of life, of serendipity, I guess, of surprise and delight, and sometimes just, in the places you expect least. And this was another friend of the show who said this. I'm just going to tell you it is a good old Heraclitus. Good old Heraclitus. I tell you, that wild and crazy guy.
That sounds like a dirty word. It sounds like it should be a dirty word. If it's not a dirty word, it sounds maybe...
I just want you to know that I practiced this word about 20 times to make sure that I did not mispronounce it. I'm not
going to try. A man has got to know his limitations.
Yeah. I think you need to quit while you're behind, my friend.
Right.
If you want to find out more about Kevin, I'll give you all the various things. But here are just 3 articles that he wrote recently. The Facebook boycott for the rest of us, defund Facebook, the machine fueling ad industry demand for change, and the Reverend Blue Line. In addition to all of this, he doesn't just write articles. He's an author as well. He wrote a book called Taking Down Goliath. And I'm going to just flash up a whole bunch of things. But Kevin, how can people find you? Where can they find you? What do you want them to know? I want to give you the floor.
I'm in the Jersey suburbs, hiding it out, riding my mic. So
there you go.
I decided that, either I'm going to go insane or I'm going to start exercising outdoors. So since March, I bought the last bicycle in America, and I've been riding that around the Jersey suburbs here like a crazy person. So yeah, I mean, Twitter's fine. Facebook tends to be a little irritating, but you can reach out through the site. Don't try to reach me through the motivitymarketing.com site. All I do is I think I turned off the responses like a couple of years ago because they're all spam.
And then of course, you have a podcast which I'm going to be on in December called TMI KMR.
Yeah. That's that I really like. You have a much better format here. I just I'm scared of I don't think people need to look at me for an entire hour. But that was I've talked to a lot of people on stage. I've done a lot of interviews, I've talks all over the world and that kind of thing. And I was just, it really irritated the hell out of me because we would get pushed off stage right when the conversation got good.
Yeah.
And that's why I want people.
The show is terrific. Heraclitus, say my name. I don't even know it was about a Breaking Bad meets. You know what? I think we should stop there. But your show is terrific. I'm looking forward to being on it. I'm looking forward to hearing more of you and your voice. It's an important voice. It's a valuable voice. You have, you've made such a contribution to this industry and to the conversation. You really have, and I am humbled and privileged for the chance to have spent an hour with you today. I really, really mean that. And so thank you for your time. And, it isn't hard to ask a good friend of the show to see whether he endorses you or not. So there he goes.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
There you go. I will be back tomorrow, and we'll see some of you in the after show. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Corona TV with your host, multiple author and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. Corona TV is the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing. The after show on Zoom starts right now at bit.ly/Corona TV After Show. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show at CoronaTV.show. And if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, text Corona TV to 66866 or visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.